Hi, my name is Krister, and I will take you through a series of videos explaining how we as a company work with this software called Gridley. Now, Gridley is a software for managing localization and basically all the workflows around it. There are other types of applications for this software, but we will not cover that in these videos. Gridley is a cloud-based platform and requires a browser and internet access to be able to log in. For this, I completely recommend Chrome. Obviously, the rest works, but Chrome is more optimized for this kind of workflows. So let's jump into it. Here behind me, you could see how this signing works. So you just press your sign in, add your credentials, and you'll get into this page. So in here, there's a bunch of different things, and don't be alarmed as a lot of the stuff will be filtered out for specific users. I'm logged in as an Uber admin, which means I have access to everything, and that's just for so it's easier for me to show you guys when switching between things. On the furthest left here, you will see a list of different projects. So these could be games or other types of collections of data. So here, for example, we have one for Bishop and one for Vermintide 2. So Bishop is a working name for Darktide. And then we have some other test things. On the right side here, you will have databases, and you will have inside these databases, you can see these round icons. These are what we call grids. So databases are collections that have lots of data in common. So for example, we've split up some things into its own databases that do not have the same requirements. So a grid, like these small things, is basically a unique part of the database. You can think of it like a pizza, but with different toppings, flavors on each piece. The database is like the whole pizza, and the larger the pizza, the more time it takes to eat it. So that's kind of also why we want to split things up into different databases so it doesn't get super slow. We also have another thing, which is inside these kind of grids. We have a view. And the views are basically a thing that have the possibility to filter and set permissions on what you as a user can see, and like this way you can't accidentally set anything you're not meant to do. But it also allows you to see only certain items, so we can do a specific filter for you, which is maybe something that like all the stuff that you have to do, or if you just want to see certain columns to make your workflow faster. That's what we can do with views. So if we go inside one of these views, you will see it looks a lot like Excel sheet. Yeah, you have your rows and you have your columns. Each row is what we call a record. So this record has a lot of columns, and it also have all the information for a specific text, etc. We talked about the views, and in this section on the top left, you could see there's a drop down of a lot of views, but don't be alarmed. I know there's a lot, but for a specific user, there won't be this many. So for example, if you are a writer, you'll only have these two, and it would just make sense for you to see these two. And also these different views will also be filtered out, so you don't have all of these columns. But I'm going to keep them now just so I can show you an overview of how the system works, basically. So we have a lot of different types of filtering. If we have an overview look of the interface itself. So here you can see that I've already filtered on test, so we don't get a lot of clutter here when I show you stuff. The neat thing about that is that it also highlights the words. But you also have your classic filters. You have your classic sorting. You can use these to, and you can use multiple of these to string a specific like sorting. So if you want to sort this first and that second, and that's available for all users for all columns. So quite handy to have. A new thing is also that you can use regex to filter. That is, if you have some, if you're an advanced user and want to use the regular expressions to filter out stuff, and that also works now. Let's go on to the type of cells. It could be good to know that in difference to Excel, we have the regular text fields, obviously, but there's also things like drop downs. So you could select, you get what's it called? You get a selection of items that has been there since the start, basically. There's also things like checkboxes. There are specific language types that has a bit of other data into it. And again, don't be alarmed by the massive amount of columns. This view just shows all of them, and it's nothing that you will see as a regular user. You will have a few of these. Let's talk about editing. So editing all these cells can be done a few different ways for your convenience. The easiest way is obviously to just do a direct edit in the cell. So you just double click it. You can also click this sneaky icon at the top right corner. That will expand the view. So it's good for things like this that has a lot of text into it that you can't really see. You could also, in a cell, you could press space. It will open the same view. So that's one way of editing. You can also, if you like to edit more in a property editor kind of view, you can go to your column and you can click this little arrow button at the far left in the gray area. This will open up this kind of property editor way of editing, and you can see and edit stuff directly in here. There is another sneaky way that you can edit stuff. And if you right click and you go to extended view, this is in beta right now, but it will shortly be released. So you could see then you have a bottom bar instead. And that is based on the cell that you have selected. You will get a full view of it. And for example, if we now go to a language, you could also see the source. So what you're going to translate from to what you're going to translate to, and a bunch of other tools, which is really handy for working with translations. Let's move on. What more do we have? We have tools. So also one thing that we can notice is when you log in as a user, some of these things will not be available to you. These are mainly for setting up things. But I'm going to go through some of the tools that are useful for everyone, that are accessible to everyone. First off, there is a little sneaky purple bar to the left here. This is a freeze column bar. So for example, if you drag that and place it here, you can see that the scroll bar actually moved and this column will stay in place. So that could be good for some use cases. You can also see that there's specific line height here. This button is, you could do a custom line height or medium. It all depends what you kind of want to see and what you're kind of working with. Classic, you have a color. If you want to mark something in particular, like stuff that you're working with now or anything like that. In here, in this section, you have the export data and import data. I will cover this in a specific video, as it is a bit tricky to get all the stuff that you need in our workflow. So just know that they exist and they are there to import and export data into CSV or Excel. So if you'd rather want to work there and import data once you've done, that's perfectly fine. But I will, as I said, cover that in a different video. See what more do we have that is available to everyone. We do have this view, which is extremely good. This is the path view. I work with this open a lot. So basically, this is a browser. In this test view, we don't have that many subfolders, but this is basically folders where your records are divided into. So for example, you can have specific folders for weapons, items, whatnot. It just makes it easier to sort and to know what to work with in certain areas. Oh yes, I almost forgot. We do have another extremely good thing for you people who work with translations. This is a good overview. There, all the way to the right, there is a purple little icon. If you press that, it will go through the entire database. So it takes some time because this database is huge, even though I filter out only see 3 of them. But we have many records. So what this will do is it will give you an overview of what is actually translated. You can obviously see the percentage, but that doesn't really say too much unless you know exactly what you have. But number of records that have not been translated to French, for example, you can see that some of them are semi-translated, and yeah, this is just a good overview of seeing what has not been translated yet. So for example, here we have a language that hasn't been translated at all before. So this is a good overview. And I think this is what I plan to show you today. And there will be more videos coming up that will give you more insight into specific views and specific users, and also what all of these column means. So stay tuned for the next kind of sessions. All right, have a good day.